The manila envelope sat at the bottom of my underwear drawer, hidden beneath winter sweaters I hadn't touched since Thomas died. It wasn't much, just a standard letter-sized envelope from Canada Trust. But when my son Andrew came home that Tuesday afternoon in March and asked why I looked so pale, why I was sitting at the kitchen table staring at nothing, I thought about that envelope. And for the first time in 2 years, I lied to him with a clear conscience. I told him I was just tired from gardening, but that envelope held something he could never know about. Not yet. It started the way these things always do. Slowly. So slowly you don't notice until you're drowning. Thomas and I had been married 43 years when he passed from a heart attack at 70. Everyone said how lucky I was that Andrew, our only child, lived just 20 minutes away in Mississauga. How wonderful that he was a financial advisor. How generous of him to help his grieving mother manage everything during such a difficult time. I was 68 when Thomas died, and I'll admit, I was lost. Thomas had always handled our finances. The mortgage was long paid off on our house in Oakville, and between his teacher's pension, my old nursing pension, and our RRSPs, we'd saved nearly $400,000. Not wealthy by Toronto standards, but comfortable. Secure. Andrew came to the funeral with his wife Jessica and their daughter Emma, who was 15 then. He hugged me tight and whispered, "Mom, you don't need to worry about anything. I'll take care of everything." That's what Dad would have wanted. And I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was my son. It began with small things. Andrew suggested we consolidate my accounts to make everything simpler. He was a financial advisor after all, worked at one of the big banks downtown. He knew what he was doing. We opened a joint checking account at his branch so he could help pay my bills while I was grieving. Just temporary, he said, just until you feel better, Mom. Then he suggested moving my RRSPs and savings into accounts he could monitor. For your protection, he explained. Elder fraud is everywhere these days. I see it at work all the time. This way I can watch for suspicious activity. I signed the papers he brought. I trusted him. The first year after Thomas died passed in a fog. I barely left the house except for groceries and my Tuesday morning seniors aquafit class at the Oakville Recreation Center. Andrew visited every Sunday for dinner. Jessica would bring Emma, though Emma seemed increasingly uncomfortable, always on her phone, barely making eye contact. Andrew started giving me an allowance. Not that he called it that, of course. He called it a monthly transfer. $1,500, deposited into our joint account on the first of each month, for groceries, utilities, property taxes, everything. "Mom, you're spending too much," he'd say, reviewing the bank statements on his laptop at my kitchen table. $200 at Longo's? You're one person. You need to budget better. I bought groceries for the week, and I got that roast you like for Sunday dinner, I'd explain. We can eat something cheaper. You're retired, Mom. You need to make your money last. I started shopping at No Frills instead of Longo's. I stopped buying the good coffee. I canceled my subscription to the Globe and Mail. I dropped my book club membership because the annual fee was $40, and Andrew said it was wasteful when the library was free. The second year was worse. Andrew told me my investments weren't performing well. "The market's down, Mom. We might need to tighten things up even more." He reduced my monthly transfer to $1,200. When I mentioned that my property taxes alone were $4,000 a year, he sighed deeply. "I'll cover the shortfall, Mom, but you need to be more careful. You're burning through your savings." Except I wasn't. I barely spent anything anymore. I wore the same 3 outfits on rotation. I kept the heat at 15 degrees in winter to save on gas. I stopped getting my hair done at the salon and cut it myself in the bathroom mirror. I looked like someone I didn't recognize, hollow-eyed and shapeless, moving through my own house like a ghost. My sister Catherine called from Vancouver every few weeks, but Andrew always seemed to be there when the phone rang. He'd answer it, chat pleasantly, then hand me the phone with a warning look. Catherine's voice would come through, bright and concerned, asking how I was doing, and I'd say fine, just fine, while Andrew sat across from me watching. After a while, Catherine stopped calling as often. Later, she told me she thought I was pulling away, that I didn't want to talk to her. She didn't know Andrew had been intercepting her emails. that he'd told her I was struggling with depression and needed space. The breaking point came on a Thursday morning in February. I was 70 years old, standing in line at the Royal Bank on Lakeshore Road, trembling so hard I could barely hold my purse. I needed to withdraw $200. My winter boots had finally split at the seams, worn through from 2 winters of walking everywhere because I'd sold my car. Andrew had suggested it, said the insurance and maintenance were wasteful for someone who barely drove. I'd gotten $3,000 for my 12-year-old Honda Civic. I never saw that money. The teller, a young woman named Priya with kind eyes and a gold cross necklace, processed my withdrawal request. Then she paused, looking at her screen with a small frown. "Mrs. Whitmore, I'm showing your joint account balance at $847. I stared at her. That can't be right. My son transfers $1,200 every month. I barely spend anything. She angled her screen slightly so I could see. Your last transfer was January 1st. It's February 20th, and there have been several large withdrawals. My vision blurred. What withdrawals? She clicked through screens, her frown deepening. February 5th, $3,000. February 10th, $5,000. February 15th, $4,000. All ATM withdrawals with your card. I don't use ATMs, I whispered. I don't know how. Priya's expression shifted to something between concern and recognition. She'd seen this before. Mrs. Whitmore, do you have your debit card with you? I fumbled through my purse. It wasn't there. I hadn't seen it in weeks. Andrew had borrowed it last month, said he needed to make a deposit for me. He'd never given it back. Mrs. Whitmore, Priya said quietly, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Are you safe? Is someone controlling your finances without your permission? The question broke something open inside me. I started crying right there at the counter, deep shaking sobs I couldn't control. Priya came around the counter, guided me to a private office, brought me tissues and water. My son, I managed to say. Andrew. He's a financial advisor. He was helping me after my husband died. But I don't understand where all the money went. Priya's jaw tightened. Mrs. Whitmore, how much was in your accounts when your husband passed? Almost $400,000. The number sounded obscene now, impossible. She pulled up more screens, and I watched her face grow grim. Your RRSP accounts were closed and transferred into your joint checking account over the past 18 months. The balance right now, across all your accounts, is $847.32. The room tilted. $400,000 gone. My son is a financial advisor, I repeated stupidly, as if that explained anything. Mrs. Whitmore, I think your son has been stealing from you. This is financial abuse, and it's a crime. She reached into her desk and pulled out a card. This is the number for the Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario helpline, and I'm going to connect you with our fraud department. But first, I need to know, do you have somewhere safe to go? Someone you trust? I thought of Catherine in Vancouver, 2 provinces away. I thought of my old nursing friends, but I hadn't talked to them in 2 years. I thought of my empty house with its 15-degree chill and bare cupboards. I don't know, I said. Priya made 3 phone calls. The first was to her manager, explaining the situation in a voice that was professional but tight with anger. The second was to the bank's fraud investigation unit. The third was to a woman named Rebecca Chen at the Halton Women's Center. Rebecca specializes in helping older women experiencing financial abuse from family members, Priya explained. She can help you figure out next steps. Would you be willing to talk to her? I nodded, clutching the tissue she'd given me. Rebecca met me at a Tim Hortons 2 blocks from the bank an hour later. She was in her mid-50s, with short gray hair and intelligent eyes that held no pity, only recognition. Mrs. Whitmore, Dorothy, my grandmother went through something similar with my uncle, Rebecca said after I'd told her everything, my words tumbling over each other. He took $190,000 over 3 years. We got some of it back, but not all. The important thing is, you can fight this, and you're not alone. But he's my son, I said, the words breaking. How could he do this? Financial abuse from adult children is more common than you think. Sometimes it's addiction. Sometimes it's greed. Sometimes it's entitlement. They convince themselves they deserve it, that they're owed it. She paused. Dorothy, have you noticed any changes in Andrew's lifestyle recently? New car, expensive purchases, vacations? I thought about it. Jessica had been posting photos on Facebook, trips I'd seen when Emma had shown me on her phone during Sunday dinners. Cuba last winter, a cruise to Alaska. Andrew had bought a new BMW last summer, silver, which he'd parked in my driveway and complained about my gravel scratching the paint. He said business was good, I whispered. He said he'd gotten promoted. Rebecca's expression was sad but unsurprised. Dorothy, I want you to know that you have rights. That money was yours. What Andrew did is theft, and it's also financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult under Canadian law. You can report this to the police. You can sue him civically. But I need you to understand, this will be hard. He's your son. Your family will be torn apart. Are you prepared for that? I looked down at my hands, wrinkled and age-spotted, wearing my wedding ring from Thomas and nothing else because I'd sold my other jewelry last year when Andrew said I needed to contribute more to my own expenses. He already tore us apart, I said. I just didn't see it. Over the next 6 weeks, I met with Rebecca every Tuesday. We made a plan, a real plan, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt like a person again instead of a burden. First, I needed documentation. Rebecca connected me with a lawyer named Margaret Liu, who worked pro bono for the Women's Center. Margaret was younger than Andrew, sharp-eyed and fierce, and when I told her my story, she said 3 words that changed everything. We'll destroy him. Margaret subpoenaed all my bank records. She got statements going back 3 years before Thomas died, showing exactly how much had been in our accounts. Then she got records showing every withdrawal, every transfer, every suspicious transaction after Andrew gained access. The picture was damning. Andrew had taken $391,612 over 23 months. He'd withdrawn it systematically, careful to never take so much at once that it would trigger automatic fraud alerts. 5,000 here, 3,000 there, occasionally 10,000. All from ATMs across Mississauga and Toronto, usually late at night. He was gambling, Margaret said, showing me credit card statements she'd obtained through legal discovery. Casino Rama, Casino Woodbine, online gambling sites. Your son has a serious gambling addiction, Dorothy, and he funded it by stealing your retirement. Second, I needed to be safe. I couldn't stay in my house, not after confronting him. Rebecca knew a woman named Patricia Kowalski, who ran a supportive housing program for older women in crisis. It was a large house in Burlington, divided into 6 small apartments. $400 a month, utilities included. It's not fancy, Patricia told me, showing me a basement suite with a bedroom, a tiny kitchenette, and a bathroom. But it's safe, and you'll be around other women who understand. I moved in with the clothes on my back and 2 suitcases I'd packed while Andrew was at work. Patricia lent me the suitcases. Someone donated them, she said. She moved on to better things. You will too. The confrontation happened at my house, with Margaret and a police officer present. Andrew arrived for Sunday dinner like usual, except I wasn't cooking. I was sitting at the kitchen table with bank statements spread out in front of me, Margaret on my right, Constable Davies on my left. Andrew's face went white when he saw them. Mom, what's going on? Who are these people? Andrew, sit down, I said, and my voice didn't shake. We need to talk about my money, the almost $400,000 you stole from me. He tried to deny it. Of course he did. Mom, you're confused. You're 70. You don't understand investments. I was managing your portfolio. The market's been down. The market's been up, Margaret said calmly, sliding a document across the table. The TSX has gained 18% over the past 2 years. And these aren't investments. These are ATM withdrawals from casinos. Andrew's face changed, cycling through expressions, confusion, anger, fear. I was borrowing it. I was going to pay it back. I had a system. I was winning. You lost $391,000, I said. You stole my pension. You stole the money Thomas and I saved for 40 years. You stole my security, my dignity, my ability to live independently. I'm your son, he shouted. You would have given it to me anyway when you died. I just needed it now. The entitlement in those words, the casual cruelty, made something final click into place inside me. This wasn't my son anymore. Maybe he never had been. Maybe I'd just been too blind to see it. Andrew James Whitmore, Constable Davies, said, "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." They arrested him there, in my kitchen. Jessica called me that night, screaming about how I was destroying their family. How could I do this to my own son, to my granddaughter? I hung up on her. It was the first time in my life I'd hung up on anyone. The legal process took 8 months. Andrew fought everything. He claimed I'd given him the money willingly, that I had dementia and was being manipulated by lawyers looking for a payday. He claimed he'd been managing investments that unfortunately lost value. He claimed, somehow, that I was abusing him by pressing charges. But Margaret had the documentation. Every withdrawal, every casino transaction, every lie. The criminal case resulted in a conviction for theft over $5,000 and financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Andrew got 2 years in prison, suspended sentence with 5 years probation and 160 hours of community service. The judge also ordered him to repay everything. The civil case was more successful. Judge Patel, a woman in her 60s who had clearly seen enough entitled children stealing from their parents, awarded me full restitution plus punitive damages. Andrew had to sell his house in Mississauga. It wasn't enough to cover everything. He'd already gambled most of it away, but I got back $173,000. His BMW went too. His marriage ended 3 months later when Jessica filed for divorce. I kept living at Patricia's house even after I could afford my own place. I liked the community. I liked having dinner with other women who understood what it meant to rebuild your life at 70. I liked having Patricia's wisdom available whenever I needed it. Catherine flew out from Vancouver the week after the sentencing. We sat in Patricia's backyard garden, drinking tea, and I told her everything. She cried and held my hand and apologized for not pushing harder when I'd gone quiet. "Why didn't you call me?" she asked. "I would have come. I would have helped." "I know," I said. I was ashamed, and after a while I forgot I could. Emma reached out 6 months after her father's conviction. She was 17 then, preparing for university. We met at a coffee shop in Oakville, the same one where Thomas and I used to get lattes on Sunday mornings. "Grandma," she said, and her eyes were red from crying. "I knew. Not everything, but I knew Dad was taking money from you. I heard him and Mom fighting about it. I should have said something. I should have told someone." "You were a child," I said gently. "This wasn't your responsibility. I was old enough to know right from wrong." She pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. "I got a job last summer. I've been saving. It's not much. $2,000. I want you to have it." I pushed the envelope back. "Keep it for university. But Emma, if you want to make this right, I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll learn about finances, about budgeting and investing and protecting yourself. Promise me you'll never let anyone, not even someone you love, control your money. Promise me you'll be smarter than your grandmother was." She took my hand. "I promise. And Grandma? You weren't stupid. You trusted someone you should have been able to trust. That's not the same thing." Last Tuesday, I started volunteering at the Elder Abuse Prevention Center in Oakville. Rebecca trained me herself. Now I sit in a small office with a window overlooking a garden, and I meet with older women and men who are going through what I went through. I make tea. I listen. And I tell them, "You can fight this. It won't be easy, but you can, and we can help you." I'm 72 now. 3 years past the day Priya at the bank asked if I was safe. I work part-time at the Oakville Hospital, back in nursing, just helping in the geriatric ward. The pay isn't much, but it's mine. I volunteer every Tuesday. I have dinner with Catherine via video call every Sunday. Emma visits during her university breaks, and we've built something new, something honest. I'm rebuilding my retirement savings, slowly. I'll never get back to 400,000, but I'll be okay. I'm back in my house, the heat set to a comfortable 20 degrees. I get my hair done every 6 weeks at the salon on Lakeshore Road. I buy the good coffee. Andrew and I don't speak. He violated his probation last year, missed his community service hours, and served 4 months in jail. I heard through Emma that he's working as a clerk at a grocery store now, still gambling, still losing. Jessica remarried, moved to Calgary. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty for destroying my son's life. But then I remember standing in that bank, 70 years old with $847 to my name, and I remember I didn't destroy his life. He destroyed his own life. I just stopped letting him destroy mine. I still have that manila envelope from Canada Trust. It sits in my desk drawer now, no longer hidden. Inside is the letter Priya wrote me after everything was over. Just 3 sentences. Mrs. Whitmore, you were so brave. Thank you for trusting me. You saved your own life. I look at it sometimes when I'm having a hard day, when the shame tries to creep back in, when I wonder if I should have just stayed quiet, let him take everything, preserved the illusion of family. And I think, no. I was 70 years old when I learned that dignity isn't something someone gives you, it's something you take back. That being someone's mother doesn't mean letting them destroy you. That it's never too late to fight for yourself. If you're reading this, if someone you love is controlling your finances, taking your money, making you feel small and stupid and helpless, I need you to know something. You're not alone. This is happening to thousands of older Canadians right now. Your children, your grandchildren, your caregivers, people you trust. Financial abuse is real abuse. According to the Canadian Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, 1 in 5 older Canadians experiences some form of abuse, and 70% of that abuse comes from family members. Adult children steal an estimated $3 billion annually from their aging parents in Canada. If this is happening to you, please call someone. Call the Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario helpline at 1-866-299-1011. Call your bank and ask to speak to someone in their fraud department. Call a lawyer. Call your local police non-emergency line. Call anyone who will listen. You are not too old to fight back. You are not being dramatic. You are not overreacting. Your money is your security, your independence, your dignity. You earned it, you deserve it, and you have every right to protect it. I was 70 years old when I finally understood that protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's survival, and sometimes the people you have to protect yourself from are the people you love most. But you can do it. I did. And if a 70-year-old widow from Oakville who could barely use an ATM can take back her life, so can you. Your story doesn't have to end with $847 in a bank account. It can end with you, standing in your own home, warm and safe and free. It can end with you helping others. It can end with dignity. But first you have to fight. And I promise you, you're strong enough. You've survived this long, you're stronger than you know. Now fight. Take back what's yours. Take back your life.